New Zealand, that's not going to be a problem for a good while, because I think we have a very large country. We have a country whose population could increase quite substantially in terms of the space and usable space we have for people. And it's almost inevitable that the people who are going to be part of that increase are going to tend towards the younger end. We don't tend to get many immigrants who are 93. We get lots of immigrants who are 23. In some countries, those pressures may come on. I like to hope that they wouldn't. I'm not sure they'd be that strong anyway. It's never stopped people going for really expensive and unsatisfactory solutions for other problems. Let's all have incredibly long sentences for crimes, which are hugely expensive. Even things like death penalties, which have been suggested as being cheap, actually turn out in most reasonably developed societies to be quite expensive because the legal processes drag on for so long. You end up spending a lot more than you would in just putting somebody in prison anyway. So I like to hope not, but who knows, I may be wrong about it.
The cost factor, it is important because already they're closing down the old people's homes, and because they find it more profitable to keep old people in their homes, in their houses, as long as they can. They're ratcheting up the welfare system and providing meals on wheels and garden care and all that sort of thing. It's cheaper that way than to keep people in old people's homes. Right, and it's not a field I know, and I have to say that from my point of view, I think I'd rather be at home with lots of people coming doing things for me than in most old people's homes I've seen. But certainly the point is certainly true in some cases, and I wouldn't neglect cost issues. For example, this arises in one of the involuntary euthanasia types of settings we see, which is the turning off of life support. Now, there is a strong argument that people make saying, well, if in doubt, keep the life support on, because it does no harm to keep it on, and you never know, there might be some miraculous recovery. But the reality is, somebody's brain dead, they are not going to recover. And at the moment, for example, at Auckland Hospital, if we're going to keep you on life support purely with your bodily systems functioning, your brain completely finished, that's going to cost around $300,000 a year. Now, that would be okay if we had $300,000 a year, but the reality is that it only takes 2 or 3 cases like that, and we're sacking 2 consultants to make up the money from the budget. Now, the next 12 people who come to the accident and emergency who need the care of those consultants are not going to get it. So there is a sheer sort of utilitarian view here, I think, which is that you keep one brain-dead person alive, you may be costing the lives of several others. And I'd actually be willing to consider that sort of option under some circumstance. I mean, it's not the only solution, but I think it's a case we can make.
Has anybody kept a register of the various slippery slope arguments? Because their absurdity would become apparent once they've said, well, of course, if this happens, then this happens. If you look back 20 years later and we find that it hasn't, I mean, we know with the prophecies of people about the end of the world, there are marvellous lists, you can get them online, of all the dates that have been suggested. You can get also lists of all the people who have been told by irrefutable proofs that they, of course, are the Antichrist. You have all sorts of skeptical-based sites looking at the prophecies of psychics. These are the best ways to undermine these ridiculous claims. Is there somebody compiling all the various slippery slope claims somewhere in one convenient place?
It'd be nice to think somebody was, and there may well be, I don't know of anyone, but the snag is that unfortunately we're judging the potential of that strategy by how it would affect us, and I think probably those of us in the room are the people who will respond logically. As you probably know, there is a lovely study from many years ago by a guy called Charles Osgood in, sorry, not Charles Osgood, name will come back to me, nominal aphasia kicks in at my age, in which people who had declared the world was going to end on a particular day were interviewed the day after, because the world hadn't, and had this challenged their faith. And the reality was that, of course, what it hadn't done was challenge their faith. It had strengthened it, because now they believed that God was so merciful that he decided to let them off. And I think there are some groups like that you just can't win with. They're back to the ones that I say, okay, let's talk about something else. You and I are never going to talk to each other on it. Well, thank you. Thank you, folks. And it's nice to be a member now.